Hello students, welcome to Eko Learners Support for WAEC and NECO candidates. I remain your literature teacher, and today we want to look at a topic very important to poetry in literature, and it's called meter. Meter in literature.
Eko Learners Support, a support program of the Lagos State Ministry of Basic and Secondary Education for WAEC and NECO candidates.
Let's go ahead to look at the objectives of this lesson. At the end of this lesson, you'll be able to identify and explain the types of meter and apply them in creative writing. Okay. So let's try to define a meter. What's a meter? A meter is the structured rhythm of a poem consisting of stressed and unstressed syllables. Okay? Now, if you look at the board, you discover that I denoted or identified a stressed syllable by a particular sign facing up, and then the unstressed, something that looks like an upside down comma. All right. Now, it is the beat of a poem, giving it musicality and flow. So that thing that makes your poem to be like a music is what we refer to as meter. By the time it is musical, then you say that your poem has a rhythm. It has a constant rhythm. And what gives your poem rhythm, or a poem rhythm, is that there is a combination, or there are combinations of unstressed syllables and stressed syllables. We are going to look at other things to help us understand this properly. It helps to convey tone, emotion, and meaning. So we have mentioned syllable many times in this explanation or in this definition. So what's a syllable itself? A syllable is the smallest pronounceable unit of speech. The smallest pronounceable unit of speech. Now, this is an example of a speech. I am bold. I am bold. Now, if you pronounce something, it could have several syllables in it. But there is a degree to which you can pronounce just one of those syllables. The smallest level of pronouncement is what we refer to as syllable. Now, if I say I am bold, to start with, I said hi. I could not do any other thing until I could say ham. So the smallest one between I am bold is either I or am or bold, because I can say it at a single breath. That's the smallest unit of a speech. All right, now a syllable is the smallest pronounceable. That is the smallest thing you can pronounce. Now let's look at some of the types of meter we have. The first one we have here is iambic meter. Iambic meter. Now if you look at the board, you discover that there is one sign like a rainbow, and there is another sign like a dash pointing upwards. Okay, the rainbow comes before the dash. So that tells you that there is one unstressed syllable first, followed by a stressed syllable, just like you can see on the board. An unstressed syllable, followed by a stressed syllable. Now, as I talk, get a pen and a paper so that we can practice together and you can write as we discuss. Now, look at the example here. To be or not to be. To be or not to be. To be or not to be. Let's look at that line. When I say to, my voice is quite low. I am not applying any energy or very little degree of energy to mention to. But by the time I got to be, my voice went up. So I said to be to be, or. Now, by the time I go to or, my voice goes low again. So I said, or, not. Now, going to not, my voice rises again. That tells you that this or is lower and this not is higher. So this or is unstressed, while this not is stressed. It required energy for me to articulate, for me to say. So I said to be or not to be. The same thing happens here. To be. So for the to, we have an unstressed syllable, and for the be, we have a stressed syllable. This is a perfect example of an iambic meter. It is iambic because you have one unstressed syllable followed by one stressed syllable. So you can have it in words like attain, enforce, deny. So those are words that has one unstressed syllable first and then followed by a stressed syllable. What is the stressed syllable in enforce? Even you raised your brows when you said force. Force is the stressed syllable, N is the unstressed syllable, and that makes it an iambic foot or an iambic meter. Look at the second example. We have the sun shines brightly overhead. That was said casually. But if you listen carefully, we say the sun shine brightly overhead. The sun shine brightly overhead. So it means that the is unstressed. Sun is the stressed syllable. Bright, okay, here is stressed. Shine is unstressed. And then you also have what? Lee. And then you have overhead. So when you pronounce these words, it is important that you are careful to observe where the stress lies. Which one takes a stronger degree to pronounce? Let's move on to the next. We have trochaic meter. Trochaic meter. Trochaic. What's a trochaic meter? Look at the sign that we have here. It is just the reverse of the first one. We have one stressed followed by one unstressed. For iambic, we have one unstressed, then stressed. But for trochaic, we have one stressed followed by an unstressed syllable. This may take some time for you to assimilate, but that's why it's a video. You can go over and over this video and the slides so as to understand each line properly. Now look at the next. The stressed syllable is followed by an unstressed syllable. An example is this. Tiger, tiger. Burning bright. Tiger, tiger. Burning bright. This is the line of a poem by William Blake, Tiger. That's the title of the poem. And William Blake used a trochaic meter in his poem. Tiger, tiger. You discover that this tiger was higher than the second tiger. So it's just like saying, mommy, mommy, daddy, daddy, when you are trying to praise your dad or your mom. So you look at the first one, you say, tiger, tiger. So the first goes high, and then the second syllable comes lower. Tiger, tiger. Tiger, tiger. The same thing happens in the same exact word. In the word tiger, we have two syllables. We have tai and we have g. When you make the sound tai, tai, it goes high. And by the time you make the sound g, you come low. So you have one stressed syllable followed by an unstressed syllable. The same thing happens here. Here you also have burn, burning, burning, burn in bright, burn in bright. So, well, when you look through these examples here, you observe that we have a trochee because one of the syllables are stressed and the other syllable is unstressed. Another example is double, 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 double. Then you also have it in the word trouble. You have tro and then you have bull. So one stressed followed by an unstressed syllable. All right, let's move on to the next. The next one we have is an anapestic meter. Anapestic meter. Now, if you follow the trend and the arrangement of the number of stressed and unstressed syllable, you observe that there's a repetition of an iambic and just one unstressed syllable was added at the beginning. So we have one unstressed syllable and then an iambic meter. So it means we now have two unstressed syllables followed by one stressed syllable. Two unstressed syllables followed by one stressed syllable. Look at it here. An example. And the sound of a voice that is still. Look at this. Now you can play this video again and again to get the pronunciations that I have just pronounced. Now, the first two syllables are not stressed, no energy, but the third is stressed. So when you have two unstressed syllables followed by one stressed syllable, you call it an anapestic meter. Look at another example. In the blink of an eye. In the blink of an eye. So in the is unstressed, but blink takes you very high and you are stressed to pronounce it. So you say blink of an eye. Okay, now let's look at the next, which is dactylic meter, a dactyl or a dactylic meter. You observe that there's a reversal now. It's just like the opposite. This time around, we have one stressed syllable followed by two unstressed syllables. One stressed syllable followed by two unstressed syllables. Don't forget that for the Anapest, it was the stressed syllable that was at the end, but now it has been reversed. The stressed syllable is now at the beginning, while the two unstressed syllable is at the end. Now look at it. Example is very simple in words like elephant, elephant, elephant. Now let's pronounce it together. Elephant. So you have elephant. Is very high, and then you have elephant going low. So it means you have one stressed first, and then two that is unstressed. One that is stressed, and two that is what? Unstressed. All right. Then you also have another example here, like fabulous. Fabulous. Far is high. Then you have bulous. Okay? And then you also have another one beside it, poetry. Poetry. Okay? So you have po and 3. Of course, po is very high. Then you have 2 that are unstressed. So when you have this kind of a meter in any word or in the lines of a poem, note that you have used a dactylic meter. Let's go ahead and look at the second to the last, which is a spondy. A spondy. Now, it could be very, very, very intricate to identify. However, when you pay close attention to your readings, you will understand that they are very common in all of our speeches. Now, a spondy simply consists of 2 stressed syllables or 2 consecutive stressed syllables. For instance, heartbreak. You don't say heartbreak and go very low. It continues. Don't say heartbreak. Nope. It continues to rise. Heartbreak. Deadlock. Because there are 2 different words on their own. So by the time you say it, you have 2 syllables, heart. Okay? You have 2 syllables, heart and break. I'm sure this is what the Gen Z people call breakfast now. Now, the next you have is dead and lock. Dead and lock. When you say dead, your tone is high. Dead. When you say lock, your tone is high. Lock. So when you say it, don't say it separately and say deadlock. Say deadlock. Deadlock. So 2 stressed syllables or 2 stressed words follow each other side by side. They are consecutive. And that makes a spondy or a spondaic meter. We have other words like bus stop, tree trunk. Your tone continues to rise. All right. Now let's look at the final one, which is the Pyrrhic. The Pyrrhic meter. And what do we have in a Pyrrhic meter? It's on the board. 2 consecutive unstressed syllables. Note what's in the bracket. It is less common and usually realized only within phrase or clause. You do not find them in any exact word. Well, we're open for research. We're open for realizations and observation. There are no words yet discovered by researchers, but if you have found one, please, you can, of course, bring it up. Now, in a Pyrrhic foot or in a Pyrrhic meter, what you have is 2 successive unstressed syllables. The 2 syllables are very low. You don't exact any degree of muscular energy in the production of those sounds or those syllables. Look at this example. To a. Another one is and just like you talk in you use in your conversation. So if you say something like I went to a shopping mall. I went to a shopping mall. Now you discover that the statement to a was low, very low. I didn't exact any energy at all in the production of this phrase to a. All right. So we have 2 syllables. The first is 2. I can pronounce it at once, and I also have a. But the 2 syllables are unstressed, no stress. And then the other one is and the. Now, if you are going to say this in word, let's give an example. He took the shawl and the book. He took the shawl and the book. Now, by the time I say and the book, you discover that my voice, I didn't exact any energy in the production of and the book. He took the shawl and the book. So, and is low and unstressed. The is low and unstressed. And this gives us a kind of meter in poetry that we call the Pyrrhic meter or the Pyrrhic foot. I encourage you to try more examples on your own. This is an exercise for us here. The word instrument instrument has what type of meter or foot? The word instrument has what type of meter or foot? Try it right now in your book. And then the next one we have is write a couplet containing iambic pentameter. Write a couplet containing an iambic pentameter. I expect that you take this exercise and do it, and you can drop it in your comments or in the comment section of this page. All right, thank you very much for listening. If you have other questions, please reach us on our social media handle displayed on the screen. Thank you.
Acing your WAEC and NECO examinations has been made easy by the Lagos State Ministry of Basic and Secondary Education with the Eko Learners Support for WAEC and NECO Candidates television program. Join seasoned teachers as they take you through these core subjects, targeting the exact syllabus of WAEC and NECO. Watch Eko Learners Support for WAEC and NECO candidates through these social media platforms to access more educational content and give their feedback. Eko Learners Support for WAEC and NECO candidates. Pass your examinations with flying colors.